that starts the Demm Report.
Oh, it's a scandalous sports dirt-filled Demm Report, too. We'll start, maybe you've heard, we finally got a chance to all get together on the same page and take a look at the biggest scandal rocking the world of professional fishing these days. Organizers of the Lake Erie Walleye Trail Tournament have disqualified the two winners after the two were caught stuffing their fish with lead weights and fish fillets.
Like fish fillets.
Like fish fillets.
From McDonald's? Are you saying from
No, like from the fishmonger at the store.
Oh, so it's raw fish inside a fish.
Yeah, they took time to go to the fresh market to pick it up.
I mean, people are yelling as it's coming out. Those are fillets!
That's whiting.
Those are fillets!
That's a whiting fillet. This is a bass.
Well, now, you mentioned that. I didn't know anything. I'd heard the story, read the headline, and then we saw some video of, 100 guys standing around while they weigh all these fish. It's a 15-minute video, so it's just milling about. And then you start to hear, like, ain't no way. I mean, you hear that.
You hear the grumbling.
Just
and the rumbling.
Yeah, as they're weighing, and people are like,
weigh that fish 7 pounds. Because Jason Fisher organized the event, and as he was doing the final weigh-in, he said, he's seen these fish before.
Yes.
I don't know how to do it, but he said he figured this fish that these guys had in the bucket was probably 4 pounds apiece.
All right.
It was almost twice that.
Yeah.
Almost twice that. He said, something's not
right here.
Right.
Yeah.
Those pro anglers, they can look at a fish and tell you how much it weighs.
So if you're going to cheat, and there's a lot of cheating that goes on in these fishing tournaments.
Lots.
If you wanted to get away with it, let's say you really want to get away with it, is the best way to do it to catch fish whenever through the year, keep them alive somehow, and then stash them on the lake and go pick them up? Is that how they do it? Is that how you do it?
They've tried that, but sometimes they'll say that fish isn't indigenous to this lake, or it doesn't eat. It hasn't eaten what's in this lake.
Yeah. And then sometimes they'll buy them literally at the store. And
but those are dead giveaways.
I mean, that. Yeah. They're dead.
Yeah.
And in this case, now I do admire the stuffing with fillets. It's one thing to put weights down there.
It's almost Dahmer-esque.
But it's the wrong fish.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
And so
cramming a fish full of fish.
Into a fish.
Along with lead weights.
Yeah.
It got so bad that, of course, poor Jason, the director of the tournament, said, these fish don't feel right.
Right.
So he decided to grab a knife and slice open one of the walleye right there and pulled out lead balls. And then, of course, all hell broke loose.
I'm not going to stand here while you perform some sort of half-assed autopsy on a fish.
In the docks of Lake Erie.
Which is exactly what they did.
Yeah, and those guys are so silent, too, the guys that are getting caught.
Just shamed.
Because I'd have been sitting there going, don't do that, don't cut that fish.
I might have said, I want to have that stuffed. I would have said, I want to, as a last
trophy
gasp.
fish.
As a last gasp, I said, I'm going to have that taxidermied. You cannot cut that fish. But, boy.
And his head was just bowed.
He knew he'd been beat.
Shame. Yeah, he knew he'd been beat.
Well, it was two guys, and I think they stood to make close to $30,000.
That's a big deal.
And had made hundreds of thousands in the past year.
They'd won tournaments before.
Now, do you think the other group of fishermen standing around, the 50 to 100 of them, were understanding? And
No, they were. If I'm not mistaken, they were calling for the police.
They were angry.
Yeah, and Jason, the director, said, "Look, you guys best leave. Leave them alone, but y'all best leave." And you fished your last Lake Erie tournament.
Well, they were emotional about that. It was an emotional time. And like you said, we were watching 10 or 15 minutes of it, and you could hear just the quiet, like, ain't no way. Ain't no way. Look at, ain't no way.
7 pounds.
7 pounds. Ain't 7 pounds.
7.9.
And then the rumblings became a little more vocal and this and that. And I don't trust these guys. And finally, it was revealed we have weights in these fish.
We got weights and fish. There we go. Where's the other one? Go get that mother. How you like it now?
That's all we have. Shame. Shame. We boiled that down. That was like 2 minutes of get that MF, get that. I mean, man, there were so many F words dropped there. We only could play a few seconds of it.
Well, they're sailors.
Well, and at the end of it, woo-wee.
Yeah.
He's right. James, you have a comment on fishing tournaments and cheating. Go ahead.
Hey guys, how y'all doing? P1.
Thank you.
It's been for a while.
Yes, thank you.
Down here in Wilmington. anyway, down here during like king mackerel tournaments and stuff, they'll actually make you take a polygraph.
Really?
Before you can win, just to make sure that you didn't cheat in any type of way and get that fish in the boat, or didn't meet anybody out there and to hand you a fish. They'll actually hook you up to a polygraph because some of the prizes are so high amounts.
Thousands.
Do you think it would be easier to cheat in a saltwater, open water tournament like that, or a lake, or is it all the same?
That's a good question. I don't do much freshwater fishing anymore, but probably at a lake or something. You could meet your buddy in the woods, and he can give you, a fish versus going out in the ocean and meeting somebody. I don't know, but I just thought it related. And the first time calling in, and just want to tell you guys, I listen to your show all the time, and I love you guys. So.
And James, thank you. That really makes us feel good. I really appreciate that.
Calm seas, my friend.
Thank you, James.
Yes, indeed.
Always appreciate it. Let's
go. They're running.
Yeah.
A mullet. Drum. Snapper.
Well,
he's talking to the wrong guys.
That one time I was sitting on the beach, and they were fishing. That one time I was sitting on the beach by myself.
Yeah.
And there were fishing poles in front of me, anchored. How they do on those white poles.
Yeah. Well,
somebody walking by thought they were my poles. They weren't. They weren't. And the guy walking his dog turned to me.
You were just pleasantly buzzed.
Oh, yeah. And he goes, what are you catching? And I said, bluegill and Tommy cod.
Which is playing Jaws.
Of course, that's Jaws. And the guy's like, bluegill and Tommy cod. Yeah.
That's freshwater.
Get out of my sight.
It's the sea, son.
What? Why do I do that? I don't know. It was like you and I were talking. Yeah. This guy I'd never met before. Like, what is she catching? Bluegill and Tommy cod. I don't even know what Tommy cod is.
20 footers.
And they hand me a Narragansett.
No idea.
Caught him out on the Orca.
That's right. What? Bluegill and Tommy cod. What?
Pretty good of you. Or you were really drunk or high.
Well, it's like you and me playing Jaws.
I know.
Yeah.
It's a line. Don't know.
It's a line from the movie. Kevin, you're talking about fishing and cheating. Go ahead.
Hey guys, P1 from Saxby Hall.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. So I've heard a lot of people talk about fishing and cheating at the lakes, and a lot of people will take like a wooden crate the night before and put it out at a hidden spot at the lake somewhere, and it's got like chicken wire around the sides of it. Mm-hmm. And they'll take their prize fish that they catch the day prior or whatever, and they'll put it in that box in the secret spot in the lake. And the day of the tournament, they'll just ride out and go get those fish out of the crate and then bring them back to the weigh station, and that's how a lot of people win by cheating.
Awful.
It seems to me that you have to have an observer.
Exactly. On every boat.
On the boat or in a boat next to the guys.
Exactly. A monitor on every boat. But that might not be feasible.
Well, I don't know. But, when you look at these captain Instagram pages and stuff like that, they all have cameras on them. I mean, these guys want to film everything. They want to film every fish they catch because, I mean, that's the thing is the thrill of the hunt and the fishing. And there's cameras. They could mount cameras on these things. I mean, it's a $high game. They certainly have the money to do it. You
wouldn't need to put a person because with cameras now you can
put multiple cameras on a boat.
Mm-hmm. You could. All of those.
Most have them.
Kevin, do you think you know a lot more about it than us? Probably. Do you think they look at that cameras or monitors on each boat? Could they go to that?
Well, I think that they look at the cameras. I don't know if they still have them or not, but they used to have referees on the boats with the fishermen at all times during the tournament.
Yes, because I mean, the prize here was $30,000. I know that they use some of these tournaments. They're big money on the line.
It's a big deal. Thank you very much, Kevin. Appreciate it. But I bet that's the way. If you get away with it, I bet you have to have it. What he just said, hidden under the water, or somebody meets you with it from. Because this, like stuffing them with weights, you heard, they are all skeptical immediately.
What is it with anglers and cheating, man?
Well, it's some big money, I guess. But I've heard about that for years about cheating at fishing tournaments. You know.
When do you think they plug the fish with the lead weights?
Like as
Did
they
catch them legit and then just stuff them on their?
I bet
boat?
they did. I bet they caught them legit, and they had the fillets and the weights with them
in a cooler,
and and stuffed them in. Nate, you wanted to comment on cheating at fishing? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to add in on that story. I had read quite a bit about it. It's a huge deal up there where they're at around the Great Lakes in Ohio. I mean, we see a little bit about here, but up there it's big news because those guys, they had been winning those tournaments for years. Mm-hmm. And last year, I think it was that they had won that Triple Crown or whatever of the walleye tournament, where they had won 3 tournaments back to back, and their total winnings for 2021 were over $300,000.
Wow!
So when they're standing, they've won a $150,000 bass boat, and between those 2 guys, they had won all that money. And so those people that were there, those people travel from across the country and spend an incredible amount of money to just pay for the gas and the equipment.
Yeah.
So they're lucky they got out of there without getting the hell beat out of them.
Believe me, those guys, they wanted to. You could tell they were out for blood.
Do you think this now puts all their other wins in?
I do. I think
under a skeptical eye.
Well, it's interesting when you say that, because everybody, you could hear in the video they were yelling, they've been doing this for years, and I'm sure that they had, especially with the kind of unprecedented winnings that they'd had.
Mm-hmm.
But what's interesting, and I had heard some people talking about, whether or not they could be prosecuted or brought any kind of justice for what they've done. But in the past, I guess they had never been caught cheating when they took all that money, so there's no proof of it. And right. I think in this tournament, they wanted to involve the police, but I don't think they ever accepted any winnings. So they could probably be charged with some kind of fraud or something like that. But in terms of actually getting them charged for the amount of money, because that would be like grand larceny if you could prove it, but
right.
There's not going to be any proof. So those dudes essentially, outside of just their reputation being destroyed, they've kind of got away scot-free with whatever they've got. Now their fishing career in tournaments is over, but man, they fleeced them good, and I have no doubts. Because you could tell they were smart enough to try to put fillets in those fish, because they were trying to make it so that you couldn't feel the weights in them.
Exactly.
An egg weight.
Exactly. That's the
So
whole
the
thing.
lead's too much of a giveaway.
Almost guarantee they've done it in the past. Well, you heard those guys. Those guys, they were skeptical going in.
And they look like they were decked out in sponsorships.
Because they've won everything.
You hear about their win last year. They're the hottest guys on the water.
Thank you, Nate. Appreciate
all
it.
that.
Man, brutal.
Chris Kelly would have sponsored them in a minute.
Yep.
We need to do something to get ourselves out there.
We should get into fishing, guys.
We will. Back a champion.
Splash our logo across their shirts.
2 guys named Christine.
That's right. Oh, that'd be my worst. Oh, that would be it.